when you like, oh, let me help my people, you usually end up dead or in jail, usually. Or the people that you are trying to help actually demonize you. Oh, who is this person trying to help me? And who is that person? So, we all need to practice a little bit of patience.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I
In
agree.
order to get that change. So,
How has the pandemic affected you in your career, but not only in your career, in your personal life as well?
oh, you getting nosy. Okay. Personally, things are doing, I'm taking time to spend with family, and enjoying those moments. So everybody knows, I love my grandmother, I love my mother. I'm blessed to have them both. Some people don't have their parents, especially during COVID, where death is just like, 1,000 people a day are gone,
Yeah.
just like that, right? And so we have to value what we do have. So I'm thankful that I get to do things with them and help out where I can, and just be present for that. So like this year, my grandmother turned 100, and so we celebrated her even, through COVID. I got a ton of nieces and nephews. I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife. So I'm not going through domestic violence or a divorce or anything like that. You know what I mean? Because I know the married couples are really going through it right now because they can't see their side piece, and things in the house is getting funky. They don't like their kids. They got a homeschool. It's a lot of stuff. I don't have to deal with that. So I'm thankful for that. Business wise, comedy for me, performing has I've only had 2 shows in 9 months and 8 months or whatever it is. So that income is gone. Of course I did some writing and stuff like that, but a lot of projects are on hold. So I took the time to release my first comedy album independently, and I'm thankful that I did do it. You know, it's a great project. Y'all can go to the EddieBryantShow.com and download it, please, because every dollar counts. It's only $10. Only $10 on my website. I did it a certain way. I do have it on some streaming platforms, but there's this thing called show business, right? And so I'm more focused on the business since there are no more shows because outside is closed. Contrary to popular belief or what everybody else used to see, outside is closed. So I decided to put out the album. It's a digital comedy album. You can download it for $10. Now, I did put 4 of the tracks on streaming platforms.
Oh wow. Okay.
Right?
Platform.
So people can go to Apple, Tidal, Pandora, Spotify, or whatever, and stream Amazon and stream the 4 tracks. That's cool. I don't necessarily make any money from that. So that is for you guys' enjoyment, and that's cool. But the artist is starving. So if you could go to my website, the EddieBryantShow.com, and download the album, it's $10. And so, I did that to test how well I would actually sell. And it turned out to be a great thing because I didn't know that it would be received the way it was. You know what I mean? Because the way that God works is, all right, cool. Shows are gone. So you put this album out, like I told you. That's why I grew my hair. I was sitting in the house, like, I'm not going to go get a haircut until this album is done. So I'm sitting in the house, pandemic, everybody in boom, putting together the album, and I get it done. And for every show that I lost this year, the album sales replaced that money.
Great. That is absolutely great.
You know what I mean? I'm thankful. I'm just like, wow. And I appreciate my audience, the supporters, and people. They just went and got it,
Right.
and it was cool. And I did T-shirts. I got one on now. I did T-shirts and I did socks. And so I have my own socks. Y'all can get the socks on the website too while
I,
they last.
I have the socks.
You have the socks. Tell them about the socks, Kim.
I have the socks. I wear my socks actually. I love my socks. They're different, they're cute. And if you pay $20 for the socks, you get the album free.
Boom. You see how that worked, y'all? You buy the socks and you get the album together. You get them together.
All right. So you said you did two shows during the 9 months that we've been in this pandemic. What two shows were they and how did they turn out for you?
Okay, so the first one I did at the Birchmere is a venue in Virginia, Northern Virginia. It's a 500 seat venue. Legally, they couldn't go to capacity because of COVID. Uh, 50 people was the capacity that they had for that venue. So they sold out all the um, seats for the 50, and it was cool. I was scared
I'm sure.
because up until that point, I hadn't been around 50 people.
I'm sure.
I ain't been around 50 people. 50 people, like what? So, that was, so I got on stage, did what I did, and boom, got off stage and went backstage, and that's where I was. And so uh that was cool. And then the second show I did, they have a there there's a drive-in movie theater that they put at RFK Stadium.
Really?
Yes. And well, yeah. And so the improv began to partner with them to do comedy shows.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a call from them about 3 days before the show and say, hey, Eddie, are you available to come perform on the show we're having at RFK? So it's a drive-in, so we're not inside, so which was good. And they had 500 cars between both shows.
Wow. And so they just
So,
people just drove up and what sat in their cars and watched the show?
yep, they sat in and watched the show, and it was on the big screen, and we were on stage, and you tune into the frequency on the radio station, and
Wow.
they can hear it in their car. Now, the comedians, we couldn't hear the laughter. So what they did was when they told the audience, when you're laughing, honk your horn.
Ah, okay. That's awesome. So that had to be interesting.
Yeah, at first I felt like I was about to get into a traffic accident every time because it's 300 cars honking their horn at the same time, kind of scare you. So, so it was weird, but I, I had a great time. I performed with Godfrey.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay.
Godfrey, which I'm a huge fan of, his work, and I had a great time. We had a great time.
Wow, I'm glad you did. That sounded like it was awesome. I didn't even know they had a drive-in movie theater at RFK. That's that's news to me. I'm about to check that out.
Oh yeah, They trying to get people to come outside a little bit, but be inside, but outside,
Right.
but but inside,
I got
but
you.
outside, but inside.
So how did you when did you realize that you were funny and that this is what you were going to do as a career?
All right, that's two different things. Okay, so in high school, we were all funny. We were Joan from the time we that first bell to the end of the day. We going all day. Okay, so you got Kenny Nance, Kenny Hill, the Credit Crew. You just Tim, you just everybody just Ty, everybody's funny, right? And we used to joke. So, that was cool. Then when I got to college, I I was continuing to joan because I ain't have as much money as all them other people did. So that was my defense mechanism. It was like, your parents got your little car and all that. I ain't have all that. So, I would joan. And so I tried doing stand up in college, but I hadn't had any life experiences
Right.
to do stand up for real, for real. So I did video production for a while and marketing promotions and stuff like that. And then as an adult, I had a really bad breakup. She broke my heart into 1,000 different pieces. Okay. And so when that happened, I got on stage because it was like therapy or weed and go on stage and talk about her until it felt better to me.
Got you.
And then, you know,
And then you realized that that was going to be your career too. That's when.
yeah, man. So once I started doing it, you get this bug, man, and it's like you on stage. It ain't nothing like I don't know if you know, but it ain't nothing like going into a room full of people that you don't know, and you grab a microphone and you just talking, and you can change everybody's mood in the room and get everybody on your frequency. That's a drug. It was like it hit hard too. And so I had some really great support groups like Fat Doctor, rest in peace. I took his workshop. I was doing open mics, but then I took Fat Doctor's workshop and he actually showed me how to organize my thoughts and write a joke. Once I started getting proficient in that and I told some jokes and then it got me some money. I was like, oh, I need to write some more jokes because I want some more money. And then I started learning the business of it, show business. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just take this and just ride it out, see where it goes.
Okay.
You know?
And so you've worked with some pretty big names in the industry, and I know some of those people, and I probably don't know them all. Can you give us kind of an example of who you've worked with?
My favorite, well, not my one of my heroes, one of my heroes was the first person to put me on TV. Shout out to Martin Lawrence and
Absolutely.
Carlton Davidson and Doug Williams. They had this show called Martin Lawrence First Amendment Stand Up. And so I tell you how I got on the show. They were having auditions for this show. They were broadcasting on the radio that they had auditions for this show. I called the radio station. They couldn't tell me where the auditions were. Nobody knew. I called every comedian that I've been working with the whole time anyway. Do you know what? Nobody knew nothing. Nobody knew nothing. And at the time, I was running my own comedy club. Okay. So we can circle back to that. But I'm at the time I'm running my own comedy club because I couldn't get work at the comedy club in DC. At
Right.
the time they wouldn't give me no work. I couldn't get on. So I said, okay, well, let me go ahead and create my own comedy club business. Right. So, all right, cool. And Chris Thomas helped me get that club.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So boom. So we sitting there and I got the club. I'm calling around. Nobody knows nothing. The show, they're taping the show next week. I can see they're taping the show next week. I'm like, okay. So I'm hosting the club like I normally am, normal weekend. I get a call from Chris Thomas. Hey, Doug Williams, the host of Martin Lawrence First Amendment Stand Up, needs a place to work out his jokes for the taping next week. Can you accommodate him? Yeah, I can accommodate him. I sent the car to his hotel, picked him up, the producer up, brought him back to Club Elite in Temple Hills, right? Brought him back to the hood, and gave him some stage time so he can work out his stuff, right? I talked to the producer. I'm like, well, look, I'm sure the auditions are all sold up for this year. Can I get on the auditions for next year? He was like, nah, you can get on the auditions for this year.
Wow.
Meet me in Baltimore Sunday, 7 o'clock. Bet. I get to Baltimore Sunday at 7 o'clock. Every comedian that I asked where was the auditions was there. Right? Soon as I get in, the host hit me with the Eddie, ain't no more spots. I said, no, all right, cool. The producer hadn't gotten there yet. The producer walked in the door. Hey, Ed, what's up? Okay, first thing, we're gonna put Doug, blah blah blah, and Eddie needs a spot. The host looked at me with this evil eye and said, okay, I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna make some announcements, I'm gonna bring you on, and then I'm going to start the show. That's what they said to me. I said, cool. Right? I didn't harbor any ill will at that time. I was like, okay, cool. I'm just excited that I got a slot. Man, she did her little announcements. I get on, and man, I commit to stomping a mud hole in that on that show. Okay. I set the bar so high they put it like this. I got on the show.
I know.
Mark, they sent Martin the video. They sent Martin the videotape that night, right? They're sending the clips to Martin from the show. They're taping the show and they're sending it. Martin was like, him. So the next day, the producer called me and was like, you're taping Saturday at 10 o'clock show.
Wow.
And so, and I was so, now, that was the biggest show that I had ever been on at that point. And totally, I was shook a little bit because the show itself was crazy. There were two guys on the show. They were brothers doing a dual comedy set, and they got booed. DC boo. I'm talking about. You've been in the Lincoln Theater before, right? You know, it got the balcony all the way at the back, at the top of the balcony. You could see all the weed smoke and everything. They started booing from up there, and they ran them dudes up off of the stage. And so the host came back, had to get the crowd back in order, and Red Grant went on and got the crowd back, and then I had to follow Red Grant. Now, at that point, I had never followed nobody like him. That was my first, you know what I mean? And then that was the first time me being in the same space with Martin. The only thing I got to say with him was hi and thank you. And that's all at that point, that's it. And so it was a few years later where I got some time to talk to him, after one of his shows at another show I wasn't necessarily on, but I went. And then I got to go backstage, and then we had a little, time like, oh yeah, like that. And, but yeah, that was my first time on stage. So Martin Lawrence, I want to thank also another guy, Bob Sumner.
Mhm.
Bob is a guy that super producer as far as stand-up comedy. And he's one of the guys that champions new comedians coming into the industry. And so sometimes the industry is just going with who they're familiar with. So you're going to keep seeing who you gonna keep seeing, who you gonna keep seeing. Well, Bob had this the first time Bob had this room in Jersey. I drove from DC to Jersey. Me and Dale Harrison, we drove from DC to Jersey just so Bob can see our set, right? So our set, cool. Now, I had seen after that one time, I started going around the country because back then we didn't have Instagram and Facebook. You had to literally go from market to market to market. We would get in the car and hit 14, 15 states in 2 weeks. A car full of comedians just going. And so I would bump into Bob in Atlanta. I would bump into Bob in Miami. I would bump into Bob in Houston, Vegas, LA, Sacramento, Oakland, all of these different places. And so we built a rapport. And so an opportunity came 6 months after I taped the Martin Lawrence First Amendment, and I got to tape One Mic Stand with Kevin Hart.
Wow.
Right? So, and Bob was the producer that called, said, "Yo, I need you to be in LA, your flight, limo, hotel, money." You know what I mean? He had seen me all of those different places, New York, everywhere. And he was like, when he had an opportunity, something will come up. When he got an opportunity, usually people would tell you stuff like that, you'd be like, oh, it'll never happen. But he kept his word. And so, um, I have the utmost respect for that guy, Bob Sumner. The utmost respect for him. He has a lot of different hats that he has to wear. And so he has a whole bunch of comedians where, um, you know, it's not a whole lot of opportunities, but when he does have an opportunity, he will impart that. So he put me on that. So boom, we get out of that junk and fast forward, Magic Johnson buys Aspire Network, TV network.
Mhm.
And Bob Sumner again, producing a show for that network. This time the jokes had to be clean, right? So he called, "Hey Eddie, you ready?" "I sure am." Same deal. So boom, Magic Johnson's new network, Aspire TV, a clean set, put me on that jump, and then, you know, of course, one of my biggest, I'm a big champion of a lot of people from this market. DC is a big comedy town. So like Chris Thomas is one of my heroes. Tony Woods is one of my heroes. You know what I mean? And so and the one of the first people that ever paid me some money to tell a joke was Teddy Carpenter when he owned his comedy club in Chinatown. And so, coming from that tradition, you know, we just have a strong comedy fraternity, So that's how we get down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Some of that stuff I didn't even know. Like really, we go way back, but some of that
Yeah.
stuff I didn't know. I didn't know about the Kevin Hart thing. But that's amazing. Like I said, I've always respected your grind, and I also know that you've traveled the world making people laugh. I
Ain't that a blessing?
absolutely. So, where are some of the places that you've gone? And out of those places, what would you think was your favorite?
Woo. Okay. So Bermuda is my
Wow.
Bermuda. If everybody go to Bermuda, okay, it's a conservative island, yes, but when they turn up, they turn up. Okay. So it's like if Jamaica people had money. When you go to Jamaica, it's like, hey, give me, put some money in my hand. But Bermuda's not like that. So Bermuda, of course, Bermuda, Puerto Rico, Curacao, uh, Mexico, Canada, Japan, Okinawa, uh, Scotland, England, uh,
Australia.
Australia.
I remember that.
Oh man, Australia. I ain't want to come home. I stayed there 7 weeks. Did not want to come home. Left kicking and screaming. Australia was so funny because it was right before this current administration was about to be in office. And we were all over there drinking it like, no, it never happened. Nobody's gonna vote for him. We like it never. They was like, look, maybe, and they kept saying, maybe you should stay here, you know, and try to get a work visa and stay here. And I was like, nah, I'm gonna go back home. Ain't no way they're gonna go from Barack to him, in my mind. Okay. And so Australia by far was the best turn up ever.
So that was your favorite place? Would you say it was not
Yeah,
Bermuda?
yeah, yeah. Well, Australia, yes. Okay, yes. We partied coast to coast. And it was like being part of a carnival. You know how a carnival comes to town
Mhm.
and then everybody goes to the carnival? Well, that's the type of shows that we were doing. So picture 2,000 different shows, about 300 of them are comedy shows, and all the comedians are all together going from city to city to city. And man, I don't think I didn't sleep for 7 weeks. I didn't sleep.
He said he sleep for 7 weeks.
No, because they are crazy. Okay. Okay. The level of partying is like what you see in the movies. Do that times 10.
Okay.
There is, the liquor store opens at 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I don't, okay. Who needs liquor at 6 o'clock in the morning? They do. Okay. The, we would do stuff like you're doing shows from 4 in the afternoon till midnight, right? Then you go to the after party. You leave the after party at 2. But you leave the after party at 1:45 so that you can get into the club, because whoever's in the club at 2 o'clock, they lock the door. And you stay in the club until 5. And then the liquor store opens up at 6 a.m. again. And so you're doing this every day. Every day. It's just over and over and over and over and over. And everybody's just like, hey, I got the, and then don't let it be like an off day and everybody going to a house party. Everybody walk, they pull out bottles, and you just gonna, it's just crazy stuff. Okay.
Did you run into Kangaroo Jack? You saw some.
Yes, we saw kangaroos. We saw kangaroo, not to be confused with a roo. So when we was over, DC, we're gonna switch up the where the roo at. Where the roo. But over there, a roo means, can you cuss on this show? Is this
Yes.
okay? A roo over there means a good fuck. so so we all mixed, everybody all mixed up. Where the roo at? Just DC dudes, Cali, man, like where the roo at? We ain't seen no roos. Man. Oh, you want a roo, mate? You want a roo? Yeah, like hold up, man. Until somebody told us, and they and the people over there, I met some really great people. I met a guy who had a mullet, right? Flannel,
Bullet.
a mullet with a shaved side head, a flannel shirt, cut off black jeans and a steel toe boot. He listened to Juicy J every day. I mean, I I don't even listen to 3 6 Mafia. He listens to 3 6 Mafia every day. Okay, that's my dude. Hide it, crazy dude. I met my weed connect over there was a little old white lady. She had to be about 65 years old. Then she dressed up. You know how they go to proper tea and they have the little hat with the veil and shit that come right here. You know, look with a small little purse and stuff. They had a little purse about this big. In that purse, she had some of the most fire weed in the world. Okay, very nice lady. Her and her son. Her son had handlebar mustache. And you should have seen me the first time I bought weed from. I thought it was a setup. You know, DC Nick like, I don't know if you might be the police. Y'all trying to get me locked up in Australia. And she was like, no, Eddie. Oh, here's a sample, and all of that. But very great place. Go to Australia. The most beautiful beaches ever. Great time.
Is the water is pretty there too?
Yes. Okay, you remember Finding Nemo, Dora?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You see Dora in the water right there. I swam in that water.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Sharks. Yeah. Yeah, with sharks. Yeah. With the sharks, they would blow a whistle if sharks were coming. Yeah, we tried some different stuff. Hey.
He said they would blow a whistle.
Yes. Because it's shark infested water, and they have the lifeguards say, okay, if the shark come, we'll blow this whistle to let you know, get your ass out the water. So,
oh my gosh.
So yes, I swam in that water.
So what out of your career would you say was your most rewarding moment?
The album is the most rewarding moment. Um, for the better part of my career, I did a lot of stuff for the collective. So when I couldn't get booked at a comedy club, I created a comedy club and I started booking all of the comedians from across the country that I had met and worked with. And so they weren't necessarily famous, but they were funny. And they are funny. So I did all of that for the collective, right? And it wasn't necessarily for me. So being rewarding for me, putting out an album going A to Z on my own, I own it, 100% of it. I own my whole publishing. I own the masters. That is the most rewarding thing.
What can we expect from you coming up? I mean, I know the pandemic is still here and it's probably not going anywhere, but you've done the comedy album and we're going to revisit the website before we get off here so that people can go buy the socks. I'm telling you, the socks are awesome.
Yes, please.
I like socks, but the comedy album was very funny. I was not in the best mood. I had a rough day the day that I got it, and it had me in tears. Like so, it's something that literally had me in tears laughing. So um, what do you think is going to be coming up next for you?
Well, so go back to show business, right? So on the business end, I am, and I hold on, I thank you for that. I'm glad you enjoyed the album. That's what it was for. Um, you want you I want people to enjoy that. I took it back to the album because the pandemic has kind of slowed everything down. So now we can take it back to listening versus, oh, let me look on this Instagram and get like that doesn't necessarily uh, put my humor in the best light. But if you want to listen and really get some, then boom, that's what it's for. So going forward, I think, well, I know that I'm going to. I also launched a production company. So the goal is to write and produce movies, um, series, and so I'm going to go and shoot for that so I can get to the business because I got to get to the check. All of this, um, you know, oh, somebody gonna put you on, or all of that. That's out of the window, and I would hope that people get back to supporting the artists that's sharing their gift, you know. And as an artist, I had to put myself in a position to be supported. So writing movies and stuff like that so that I can go do legitimate business when it comes to entertainment. You know what I mean? So I'm a little, I don't I'm not going to be here in the DMV. Hey Ed, I got $100 for you. Hey Ed, I'm not doing that. I'm going to go and do some other stuff. And so outside of comedy, so I'm doing two things. Outside of comedy, I'm starting another business that has nothing to do with comedy.
Awesome.
Right? So that I can just I need to earn a living. By my 60th birthday, I want to be able to turn up like everybody else, right? And retire and do all of those things. So I have a business, nothing to do with comedy, work that, and then for comedy, get these movies popping.
Okay, awesome. Great, great, great. So, one more question, and then
Sure.
we'll close out with your website again. But
Okay.
we're producing a show for somebody at Bethesda Jazz and Blues for a while.
Oh yeah. Oh man, how could I forget? Shout out to the big homie Joe Claire. Thank you, Kim. Let me tell y'all something. A lot of comedians are competitive, um, self-serving. Joe Claire and I built a relationship when I had that comedy club, and Joe was living in LA. And no matter what money I had for him, I said, Joe, I got this. Oh yeah, I'm coming to get that. I'll be there. Hey Joe, I got this much. Oh yeah, I beat it. No problem. Right? We never had that relationship where it was for the money. And so um he came home, and when he came home, he got the morning radio show. So he hired me to write for the show. And so when we were writing for the show and the show was doing the thing, we did Bethesda Blues and Jazz. And so I produced the show at Bethesda Blues and Jazz for 5 years, once a month for 5 years. We would get 800 to 1,000 people to come out every month for 5 years. It's the best show on the East Coast, at least, at the very least, the best show on the East Coast. We cranked every month. And so when we were able to partner and do stuff like that, man, it was a good moment in time for the folks that came and supported Bethesda Blues and Jazz when we did that. We really appreciate that. And that was also another platform to be able to create our own show. Because as artists, ownership is much better than a check.
Yeah, it
You
is.
know what I'm saying? So that is the mentality that we took when we decided to partner up and produce. He was like, "Look, I need you to produce this, John." Blah blah. I was like, "All right, cool." And so that's what we did.
I certainly appreciate you giving me this time to interview you and find out a little bit more about what you've been doing and what you plan to do. And where can people find your socks and your comedy album for
Hey,
$20?
hey, please go get my comedy album at the Eddie Bryant Show. Eddie Bryant Show. Please go get it. I appreciate everyone. Kim, Kick Back with Kim Evans. I appreciate you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We'll look forward to those films and everything that you're writing soon.
Yep,
We're gonna keep pushing the EddieBryantShow.com.
yep. And be on the lookout. I'm gonna try to get on Kim radio station. Y'all don't worry, but we're gonna do something. We're gonna hook that up. So be on the lookout for that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Eddie, so much. Good luck to you, everything that you plan on doing, and we'll talk to you soon.